Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Nedy. Hi, Dominic. How's it going?
Good. And yourself, Lisa? Hey,
Good.
Dominic.
And hello to both of you, and hello to all of our audience members too. We're already growing pretty fast here. I know we've got a lot of folks
Yes.
signed up for just one short session, so uh, Lisa, if you're cool with it, let's give them a couple minutes here to filter on in, and then we'll get rocking and rolling before we know it.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks everyone for joining us today. We're super excited to chat with you. So yeah, as we give everyone some time to join the call, we have the chat open here. So please, write in the chat and tell us where you're from. What city you're in, your organization, your camp name. I know we have some current clients joining us today on the call, as well as some newcomers who are interested in learning more. So we're going to have a great kind of well-rounded group on the call today. Irvine, California. Cool. Here we go. City of Colorado Springs. Awesome. Got a couple people from Colorado, YMCA. Okay. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Okay, amazing. We got City of Redmond, Washington. Thanks so much for joining us. Trail Life. Colorado. We got a few people from Colorado Springs. We got a whole group there. Grapevine. Hello. Okay, great. Good to see some Amelia clients, some new folks. Camp Erie. Hi, Kelsey. Awesome. So yeah, I think why don't we get started here? People can always join in here. Um, So, yeah, let's get started. So, we're super excited to be hosting this open demo today with CampDoc. And, the purpose, as you all know, is to introduce our new integration with CampDoc and, talk about how our platforms work together as an all-in-one solution for camps. So, um, I'll take you through some like housekeeping, some agenda, and then we'll get started. And yeah, and then after the call today, if you're a current Amelia client, you can always reach out to your CSM to talk more about CampDoc. And then if you're new to either one, we'll be available after the call today to answer questions and connect with you. So a few housekeeping items before we get started. So everyone is automatically muted. And also if you're having any issues with your like audio is also available by either computer or with your phone. Um, and you can also, so we have our chat open, so feel free to connect with us there throughout the call. And we also have our Q&A function as well. And so I'll be keeping an eye on that if you want to ask questions, throughout the call. And also we're going to have some dedicated time at the end to discuss questions. And you're also going to, so after the call ends, you'll see a little survey that will pop up on your screen at the end. And so we'd really appreciate your feedback on the event. We really want to hear about, your thoughts on everything, whether you want to see more events like this in the future. And if you get disconnected for whatever reason, there'll be a phone number and link to join the call again on your invite. And so, yeah, the agenda. So first, we'll kick off with our intros in a second here, and then we're going to take a look at the integration. So Dominic will take over and tell us, about how Amelia and CampDoc are integrated and how they work together to make your life easier managing your camps. And then Nedy is going to take over, and he will take you through a quick walkthrough of how Amelia is, your kind of all-in-one registration and camp management tool. And so we'll show you how people can register for programs, how you can do some management on the back end. So it'll be a quick overview. And then Dominic will take over from there and tell us more about CampDoc's electronic health record system and how you can manage everything from that front. And then we'll do a little Q&A at the end. So super excited for this. And so, yeah, let's get started with our quick little intros here. So, as you can probably tell, I'm your host. I'm Lisa Hemmingson. So I'm the manager of our sales team here at Amelia. I've been with Amelia for 4 years now, and a good majority of that was working as an account executive. So I've been working with teams across Canada and the States for many years now. I'm based out of Montreal. That's where Amelia is headquartered. And I'm originally from BC. Doesn't look like we have anyone from BC in this call today, so that's fine. If you have any questions about BC, feel free to message me after. It's a great place. And so, yeah, I really love working with camps because, every camp is super unique. And a lot of camps are also, have a great unique story. Like a lot of camps are really, rooted heavily in providing really foundational experiences for kids. I also love talking to people at camps who have, maybe started going to the camp when they were like 4 years old and now they're managing the camp, decades later. So I love working with camps in that way and providing them a solution to make their life easier. So I'll pass it over to Nedy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nady Hamadah. I'm an account executive with Amelia. So I've actually been here for around 4 years now. And during that time, I've really had the opportunity to work with a wide range of organizations. I started off as a sales development representative, then a business development representative, then a account executive. So I've really seen the whole sales cycle from A to Z. Now, in my role, I work really closely with camp directors, executive directors, CFOs, to kind of help them improve their management, help them kind of improve their registrations, operations, and their overall program delivery. I take a very consultative approach. So, when I'm working with organizations and they're trying to look at these new softwares, it's usually because there's something in their current process that isn't working the way it should. So whether that's their registration experience or the administrative workload for staff, um, you know, uh, my goal is to really challenge their current system, understand what challenges they currently face, what processes create the most administrative, inefficiencies, and what kind of experience they really want to create for their families and participants. So that's kind of a little bit about me, and I'll pass it along to Dominic.
Well, thank you very much. And hello,
Yeah.
everybody. Good to see you. If we haven't met before, my name is Dominic, and I have the pleasure of leading the sales team over here at CampDoc. So if any of you out there are exploring the CampDoc system and want to figure out if our solutions are the right match for your specific needs, my team is the one you'll be probably speaking with. Now, I've actually had the pleasure of being here with CampDoc for the past 8 years now, which feels really weird to say. But prior to leading our sales team, I got to spend a number of years also in an account executive position, just working directly with organizations like yours, consulting on how to make their programs prioritize health and safety and efficiency like never before. Now, to say that I've learned a lot from this wonderful community would be quite the understatement. So I'll say for today, I'm really thrilled to bring many of the insights and best practices that we've gained over the years to today's audience. Without further ado, Lisa, I'll throw things back over your way.
Amazing. Thanks, Dominic. Okay, and actually, I'm going to be swinging it back to you.
I was expecting a little bit of whiplash at some point in this presentation. We'll get it moving early. Alrighty, folks. So let's talk about the reason why many of you are probably here with us today, right? The brand new integration between Amelia and CampDoc. Now, this is an integration that was built by popular demand, and we're very excited to say that because we've had many different organizations reach out to Amelia, reach out to CampDoc, reach out to a combination of the two of us, saying essentially the same thing, which is you see value in both of our systems to help manage your camps or youth programs, but you could also really benefit from having some way to formally connect those two platforms together. Now, today, we're happy to report that your former request is indeed now a reality. So we've built out an integration that is going to allow for a seamless transfer of data from Amelia into CampDoc. The concept for the integration is actually really gosh darn simple. Your families are going to register in Amelia as they probably do nowadays, and their information is going to just flow directly on over to CampDoc. That's it. To make this happen from a technical perspective, there's really not much that you on your end will need to do. Just have our teams on your behalf just get to work on setting up the integration while you kick back and relax. And once it's up and running, Amelia is going to push over an updated roster to CampDoc every couple of hours so that both systems can always reflect your proper camper enrollment data. Now, these rosters are going to include the basics. So we're talking the demographic data of your youth participants, the information of their parents or guardians, and a list of the programs or sessions that those participants are registered for. So kind of like saying Jimmy Smith has a father and mother by X names. Here's what they're registered for. Boom, that goes over to CampDoc. And once that information arrives in the CampDoc system, those parents or guardians are going to immediately receive an email invite from our platform to log into CampDoc and fill out their campers information. It's as simple as that. Now, for those of you who might be wondering, why does this integration matter? How does it help me? Well, this formal partnership helps you and your team truly implement a best in breed approach when it comes to leveraging software for your youth programs. Amelia can now function as your registration or member management system of your dreams. And CampDoc can work right alongside it as a powerhouse platform, collecting, storing, and managing all of your sensitive participant data. And having this formal connection between the two, well, that's going to allow your team to easily leverage the power of both of these systems in a way that leans really hard into your unique strengths, all while your end users experience a simple and frictionless experience on the front end. Now, speaking of that user experience, that is going to be the meat and potatoes of today's presentation, right? We're going to give you a bird's eye high-level overview of both of our platforms in order to help introduce you to the core functionality that best matches this unique integration use case. So think of this as almost like a sneak peek at each platform, right? I'm sure Nedy could go on for hours about all the wonderful things Amelia can do. I have literally done the same this week on certain demos for CampDoc, so we're no stranger to that conversation. Because of that, we're going to cover a lot in just a short amount of time. So if you do have any questions as we go along, like Lisa mentioned, just type those into the Q&A box so we can address them at the end. Without further ado then, Nedy, do you want to do us the honors of showing us and introducing us to Amelia?
For sure. Yeah. Thank you, Dominic, for that. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and I'm just going to ask the team to let me know if they're able to see it. Amazing. Is the team able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got it.
Amazing. Amazing.
Perfect.
So, welcome everybody to the Amelia Center. Now, I've done this multiple times before. I'm very excited to show everybody kind of what we have in store today. I'm going to keep this, pretty simple. So the three things I want to focus on today is kind of our activities module, our facility calendar, and our reporting. Now, I'm going to kind of give you a practical look on how Amelia helps helps organizations running camps manage their registration, their scheduling, and their operations kind of all under one roof. Now, this is the Amelia Center, right? And I have a bunch of different programs kind of available to us. But for the sake of today's conversation, we're going to be focusing on camps. So I'm a individual registering to my camp. I want to give you a first look, a raw feel and look of how this actually performs. I click on my day camp programs, and I have some important information on what the program actually entails. And then I have my two different sessions underneath, right? I have my weekly camps and themed camps. Now, as a parent, I have two different children. I want to register them to two different camp programs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on my weekly camps, choose my June 2026 category, and then I have my week 1 and week 2 camps. Point being, right, parents are able to see how many spots are available, day and time the class or the program is actually running on, and the amount of occurrences, right? I'm also able to look at the installments applicable to this program or this activity, and any discounts applicable to the activity on week 1. Now, I have my price point of $100. I'm interested in this activity for week 1 on my weekly camps under June 2026. I'm going to register for the session. Now, what happens? It's very simple. My family is prompted. Keep in mind, I have a pretty large family here, but since we're on our client view and the client has to be under 18 years old, I only kind of have 5 options to choose from, and I'm going to choose Lisa Simpson to join this camp. So when I click on that plus button, I have my 2 different options. Either I'm choosing $100 upfront today, or I'm going to choose an installment plan that's going to charge me 6 different times. For this one, I'm going to choose my $100 upfront. What happens next? Well, our merchandises and services are kind of pushed. What does that mean? That means if you're selling, caps, shirts, water bottles, whatever it may be, you're able to upsell your products throughout the registration period. Now, I'm going to add that to my cart and I'm going to continue. And now I have Lisa Simpson, right? in my checkout cart that's going to join my June 2026 camp, and she's buying a camp t-shirt. But we all know that some parents, well, not some parents, a lot of parents have more than one child and they want to register multiple people at the same time. So let's go into our themed camps here. I'm going to check on my themed camps. I'm going to choose my summer and fall 2026 option, right? And I know my son loves the Dino Adventure, and I know that there's some spots available for me to join. So what are we going to do? We're going to register for the session. In this case, I'm going to choose Bart Simpson to join the session, and I'm going to put him on an installment plan, right? So check off that box. What happens here? Now, in the previous example I showed, we had merchandises being sold. At the same time, we can link activities throughout the checkout process. So for example, here we have early drop-off. I know I'm going to be early to the camp, so I'm going to add that to my cart so I can drop my child off a little earlier than when camp actually starts. So add that to my cart. And I also can upsell my product. So for Bart, he's a little larger than Lisa. Add that to my cart, and let's check out. Now, we've arrived to the order page. We have 5 items on our order. The parent or the client can automatically check, all right, Lisa's in the correct camp, Bart is in the correct camp with the additional add-on, and I've purchased my 2 shirts. I have my order total at the bottom here, and this is what's due today, because remember, we have somebody on an installment plan. We're going to proceed to the checkout. This is the parent's information. We're not asking for much here, but for Lisa, there's some required information that we need to fill out, such as expiration dates for their health insurance card, if there's any medical conditions, which we've checked off that there is no medical conditions, and a primary legal guardian and an emergency contact, who I usually like to put as the parent, which is Homer Simpson in this case. We're going to proceed to our parent, and if there's anything that we're missing, right, the system automatically lets us know. Oops, let me just put my actual father here. I'm sure I have all the correct info. And then same thing for Bart Simpson. We're going to fill out that information. And keep in mind, team, that whenever we fill out the information once, we do not need to fill it out again for each one of the contacts. We're going to choose our online payment of $1,000 upfront today. Choose our credit card. We have our credit card information already saved. We have our list of payments on the left side here. And then we're going to pay now. Automatically, an invoice is generated. It's sent out to the parents. You've received confirmation that they've actually registered to the activity. Now, this is just a very simple walkthrough on the front end. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to dig into the back end. And it's pretty simple, right? So all we're going to do here is click on the settings wheel, and we get pushed into the back end. So the first thing I'm going to do is just do a very high level demo on our activities module, then our facility calendar, then our reporting. So for anything in terms of features, all the modules live on the left-hand side here. It's very simple to navigate across the platform. Let's say I want to learn a little bit more about my activities. I'm going to select my activities. I'm going to choose my program, which is a day camp. And over here, you have all the information underneath the day camp. Now, I'm going to be very specific. I want to know how many people have registered to my day camp. Oh, 40 out of 500. I'm going to click on it, and I can see all the individuals underneath my day camp, right? So I have them separated into groups depending on what we've set on the back end, whether it's by age, by skill level, so on and so forth. But point being, over here, I can see all the important information: the individual's name, what piece of merchandise they bought, when the registration date was. And if I click on this little plus box, this is really important, right? I can see what the allergies of the individual is and what's the parent information pertaining to that individual. And that means I can, pull out that data really easily directly from the bird's eye view from the activities tab. I can also do some other cool little things. One thing I like is to select everybody in my group and send an email to all parents and staff. So a mass email towards the parents and staff, classes canceled, for example. Or I can go to my attendance list and generate an attendance list for the day that the class is actually occurring. And I can actually make this a little bit more specific, right? And add other additional information that I'd like to track, right? Such as medical conditions, their work phone number, their address of each individual, so on and so forth, right? So it gives us a very good view of what's happening under each one of those activities. Now, for facility calendars, I'm going to click on my facility tabs right here, right? And then I'm able to view there's certain facility that I can view each certain facility, what day it's been booked out, right? I have a very clear calendar view. Why this really matters to the admin staff in specific, it's because when you're running camps, you're constantly coordinating a program schedule and what facilities are available. The facility calendar is really going to make it easier by giving your team, one centralized view of everything that happens across all the spaces. Obviously, it will help you kind of prevent the double bookings that you may have under each facility. So if a field or a classroom is already reserved for a camp, a private lesson, or a rental, the system will automatically block out that time, right? So it's going to remove the manual coordination and scheduling errors that you may face. Now, also with the online facility bookings, clients are also able to book facilities directly online, right? So this is going to cut down the amount of time someone's going to be calling up the organizations to book a certain room. And then you also kind of have very flexible booking types. So they can be hourly bookings, they can be overnight bookings. You can block bookings depending on what dates and times classes are actually occurring. Let's say you have July 4th is a holiday, so on and so forth. So from an administrative standpoint, right, booking types are going to help your camps manage their facilities a little better. You're going to have them color coded, so staff can immediately see whether a space is actually being used for a camp activity, private lesson, or a rental. So kind of just streamlining everything on the admin side, which is also going to streamline everything on the parent side. The last thing I want to touch upon real briefly is our reporting tab right here. So if I choose my standard reports, we have around 40 to 50 plus different reports depending on what you're looking for already pre-built for you, right? So we have reports based on operations, payments, activities, performance, and just a general breakdown of your sales. Now, why is this important? So for camp administrators, reporting is important to really understand things like how programs are performing, which camps are filling the fastest, which facilities are being used more than others, right? So this is going to really help you kind of, learn where should you be investing more of your time, right? What are you going to present to your board of directors, your executive directors when the time comes at the end of the year? So this is going to kind of take all that information and give it to you in a very structured way so you can make the best decisions possible. Now, at the end of kind of all these different three functionalities, right? I hope this kind of gives you a bit of a clearer picture on how organizations kind of really use Amilia to simplify their operations, kind of delivering a smoother experience for families and admin staff members. And kind of if you'd like to explore a little bit more how this is kind of going to look for your organization in specific, obviously after the session, we'll be more than happy to connect. I know I went pretty fast through the three different modules, but I wanted to give you an overarching view of kind of what goes down in Amilia. Now, that being said, I'd like to kind of push this conversation to Dom. I'm sure he has, he obviously is prepared kind of on the integration on CampDocs and how this is going to help, CampDocs and Amilia in terms of pushing the information that we have. So Dominic, on to you.
Sounds great, Nady. Well, let me go ahead and grab the screen share for us, folks. And for those of you out there that have some questions for Nedy's section of the presentation, type those into the Q&A box now, just so you make sure you get those out of the way before we jump over to CampDoc. We'll give you like a couple seconds to type those in. I know that's a lot of information in a short amount of time. And again, it's a high-level overview. But if you got the questions, pop them in for us. In the meantime, we're first going to show off this little slide that kind of says, what is CampDoc? Because for many of you that have never heard of CampDoc before or are current Amelia users wanting to learn more, we figured let's give you a high-level overview of what the system does or what it is in the first place before we show you some base functionality. So for any of you who may have Googled CampDoc sometime in our 16-year history, you'll have seen that we're most traditionally known as the leading electronic health record system for camps. But what the heck does that actually mean? Good question. Well, if you happen to run any sort of youth programs that can benefit from collecting a little bit of information about folks before they arrive at check-in, we're probably going to be your new best friend. You see, CampDoc gives you a simple and secure way to collect and manage a completely custom array of participant data. And that's going to include sensitive information like protected health information, such as allergies, other sensitive data like emergency contacts, and so much more. The end result? Well, our comprehensive suite of tools that you can use for both program preparation and program execution are going to make sure you keep your participants healthy and safe, your staff efficient and well informed, and your overall organization secure and compliant. Speaking of compliant, this is a HIPAA compliant platform that is SOC 2 Type 2 certified. So we're pros at keeping your data under lock and key, especially for protected health information. We know that's a biggie. And with a user base consisting of over 1,250 organizations across all 50 US states and abroad, you can trust that you're in great hands with our team of experts. But that's enough for me just like lobbing at you for one day in terms of what we do. Let's show you some of our base functionality. Now, CampDoc is a two-sided platform, right? We've got a participant portal that's going to be more of your end user experience here. And we have your actual provider portal, which is more of your admin experience, similar to what Nady just showed within Amelia. Now, we're going to start over here in our participant-facing portal to kind of answer the question, what happens after I register for a program in Amelia that needs to use CampDoc for some form collection? Well, they joined us on this page right here. So let me give you the lay of the land of what we're taking a look at, folks. Now, up in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, you'll see my name, Dominic, in green. So this means I'm the parent or guardian that is actually using the platform. We grabbed up some of my basic info over in Amelia. It's now over here in the CampDoc system. And I'm logged in to fill out forms for a fake camp called Camp Maple, just like the leaf or like the syrup, as we can see in the bottom left. Now, over on the left side of my screen, I can see the names of two different participants that I just registered over in the Amelia platform. So this could be Lisa Simpson and Bart Simpson, for instance. We're just carrying that little through line here. In this case, we're currently looking at forms for our fake child together, Jamie Allen. And what I'm looking at is Jamie Allen's health profile screen. That's like the forms section of CampDoc. So, for those of you wondering, didn't I just fill out a little bit of info in Amelia? Well, this is where we want to get strategic with you in terms of planning for camp in particular. What we often recommend when we're working alongside another registration platform is you want to figure out what's the strategic information that I need prior to checkout versus after checkout, right? Because some of the information that Nady was collecting up front, such as t-shirt size, is probably really pivotal for you to grab up front. You might need to push that information out to your printers and get that done on time. Whereas other information, such as emergency contacts, allergy information, medications, stuff like that, you might want to relegate to after the checkout process for a couple of different reasons. One, the less information you usually collect during the actual registration process, the faster the process goes. That's super helpful for competitive registrations in particular, where spots fill up quick. Additionally, when we're grabbing information during the registration process, sometimes folks can try to rush through those fields and not give you the best information possible just to reserve their spot. So sometimes relegating this information to a second platform like CampDoc helps you collect more exhaustive, complete, and correct information after the time of checkout. Anyway, on to the actual forms we're seeing here themselves. We're going to see those over on the right side of the screen. And take everything you see in this demo account with like a grain or a shaker worth of salt, because everything that we build in your custom CampDoc account is done from scratch by our in-house client success team. Now, the forms I'm seeing in my general account today are based on the standards required by the American Camp Association. So they're a great starting point. Those are one of our business and research partners, so if you like those standards, we can point you in the right direction. Now, when it comes to actually filling out these forms, it's a pretty simple process for families. We take a look first at either red dots or green checks to indicate how complete our forms happen to be. Red dots indicate incomplete forms with missing required fields. Like in this case, I have a red box around a zip or postal code. As soon as I type that on in, though, my red dot flips to a green check. So I'm all hunky-dory, I'm good to move on along. Now, there are a couple cool things here that I can note as we start filling out forms together. First and foremost, I never have to press a save button as I go along, right? My information auto-saves as we're going. By the way, I can also hop from form to form. I don't need to go in what's in order of my screen. So if I log in here as Jamie Allen's parent and say, okay, cool, I can fill out his general information, and I know Jamie's allergies, but ooh, I have my insurance card left in my other pair of pants. I can't fill that out right now. That's okay. I can hop around and fill out what I know for now, log out of CampDoc at any time, and log back in later. In the meantime, if you're missing some required forms from a participant, they're going to get sent automatic reminder emails with your choice of custom text and frequency. So we're kind of like playing the bad guy on your behalf to get back all of your pre-camp or pre-program information. By the way, these forms you're seeing over on the right side of the screen, they're going to sync up with whatever we just registered for over in Amelia 2, which is really exciting, right? So if I register for day camp, I get the day camp forms. Register for overnight camp, I get the overnight camp forms. Preschool, I get the preschool forms. You get the picture. And the nice thing is we're going to identify which of your questions are overlapping between programs because these answers are going to save across programs and even year over year. So if I register at my local Parks and Rec department for a summer camp and I come back for an after-school program, you're probably asking me like 75% of the same questions. So that info can save by default, and I just get some new waivers and authorizations to fill out. It's super simple. But let's move on along to show a couple different examples here. One of my favorites is diet and activity because this gives us an example of some more dynamic or multi-layered questions when they come into play. These are super exciting because we build out our questions in CampDoc from two different points of view. Point number one, what's going to be easy from the parent experience? How do they fill out forms quickly for you? And from the second perspective, we look at staff reporting and start to think, what's the breadth and depth of information that you all need to pull really detailed and accurate reports? So for diet restrictions, this is where we get strategic, right? For a lot of platforms, you might ask a general question with a text box, like, does your child have any diet restrictions? Please note them below. And from a reporting aspect, that can be a little bit tricky because now you might have to sort and filter through different potential diet restrictions. For us, we like to build these out in multiple layers of questions. So I can start with something like, do you have a diet restriction? If no, I'm good to go. If yes, well, then I'll ask more follow-ups, such as, do you have a gluten-free diet? If yes, do we actually have celiac? Or following a vegetarian diet? Is there something else we need to know? And that's where we can get really strategic when we then pull reports on the back end of the system. Now, there are also a couple different places at CampDoc where that background that we have as an electronic health record is really going to shine. One of those examples is with medications. So for any of you that are running overnight camp programs or licensed childcare programs that might be administering medications during your actual program itself, this module is going to be your new best friend. We standardized some of the questions we ask here to make it easier for parents to fill out and to also give you access on the back end to a tool that helps you administer medications and document that really gosh darn quickly. What we do is give you a couple basic questions here to guide parents along in the right direction and prompt them with drop downs to make that process even easier. This first drop down for medication name, this pulls direct from the FDA database to give you both brand name and generic medications. So if I even type in something like Claritin, I'm going to get different options like Claritin and Claritin D to get really specific. My strengths then sync up with my medication I just chose. So that's super simple too. And you'll see from here, it's simple enough for us to say when we're giving our medication, why, and so on and so forth. For a couple of other examples, it's also worth noting CampDoc's a great place to help you collect offline documents you might need to get signed, like physical forms, for instance, or copies of insurance cards. In that case, we'll give you this gray little box in your screen where you can easily upload a photo direct from your laptop or tablet, or we'll actually snap to whatever size screen you're using. So on a mobile view, you can just click on this gray box and access a photo library or your actual camera app itself. Click on a quick little picture of that physical form, and you're good to go. Plus, if you have any sort of waivers or authorizations, we can help you collect those as well. Those will come with timestamps of when they took place within a legally binding, electronic signature here. And with that said, folks, that's kind of the basics of CampDoc's health profile, which I always like mentioning first because that gives you the baseline then of everything that you pull and report upon on the backside of our system called our provider portal. Now, I'll give you a quick little spin back here, kind of like Nedy kept things brief and easy over at Amelia, because there's a lot of functionality for you all as admins or backend staff users. What's important to note, though, every single staff user in CampDoc gets totally custom permissions on what they can and can't see and can and can't edit, because, hey, you have different staff that are going to have different needs on the backside of the system. Therefore, if you work for a day camp, you want to only see the day camp information. If you work for preschool, you want to see the preschool information, and so on and so forth. Now, a couple things to note here within our screen. The main page I'm on right now, this is probably where most of you as admins are going to spend a good like 80% of your time. So we call our profiles section because you see all the profiles of the different kids that got imported in from Amelia and are starting to fill out forms for you. They're listed here alphabetically by last name with a little bit of demographic data and this percentage point. That percentage point, that tells you how complete their forms are. So you immediately get a snapshot of where they're at in the form completion process. Now, I'm currently seeing about 1,300 kids within my current portal. And to break that down, I have a tool called our list builder that helps you build different lists of the exact kids you want to take a look at. And we can pull from different conditions or data points that we're either grabbing from Amelia or that we just collected in CampDoc. So I can include things like age, for instance. So I can look at everyone who is greater than 10 years old. I can look at how complete their health forms are. So I can say, okay, who is, let's say, missing their immunizations form? I can take a look at the actual information given to me, like allergies. So who also has an allergy? And my personal favorite, we have a tool called our group select, which pulls your exact rosters right on over from Amelia. So if I want to look at my session one kids that are greater than 10 years old, have not completed their immunizations form, and have an allergy, well, now I've gone from 1,300 kids down to just 9. And that was pretty gosh darn quick. Now, there's a lot of functionality we have here within List Builder to pull tailored lists that you might need for different functions, like messaging out your kids, looking at individual profiles, or even pulling this information over to reporting. Because your List Builder, that goes with you regardless of which tab you're using. But with that said, folks, as much as I want to go ahead and show you reports, because we got plenty and plenty to pull from, both standard and custom and other varieties too, we might need to save that for a more personalized demo, because time is of the essence here in just a short little walkthrough. With that said, there are also other features we can show you when time permits, such as our health log or illness and injury logging, an EMAR, that stands for Electronic Medication Administration Record, where our medications from earlier come into play, attendance functionality, and so much more. But I know we have a lot more to get to here and probably a couple questions to answer. So without further ado, Lisa, I'm going to throw things back your way so we can start to wrap things up.
Amazing. Sorry, I was on mute. Thanks so much, Dominic, and also Nedy for showing us those walkthroughs. It's so cool also to learn more about the integration with CampDoc and just to really see what's possible. I know that, I've talked to camps in the past too. I've been talking about CampDoc for a while, but now that we have this integration, it's just going to be an absolute game changer for either our current clients or those who are interested in, leveling up their registration and their medical document management and everything. So it's really cool. Thank you so much. So yeah, thank you both. As everyone can see here on the screen, if you're interested in learning more about either Amelia and or CampDoc, here are our emails that you can reach out to us through. So we'd love to chat with you to, give you more, customized demos, learn about your camp, learn about how you're doing things now and how we can help you. Because I know obviously today was very high level as we've acknowledged, in Amelia itself to we have a ton of features. You can use us for your camp registration, but also if you're doing, like retreats off season, for example, we have a whole facility management feature for that. We also have like staff management and, attendance tracking and profile management. So there's a lot that we can show you other than today. So definitely reach out to us. And again, for those of you who are current Amelia clients, if you're interested in learning about CampDoc, you can also reach out to your CSM at Amelia too, and we can coordinate a meeting with you. So on that note, I believe that we're already at our last section here for our Q&A. So we have a few questions that people have started asking already, so we can start with those. But we have some time here to chat about any questions you have about either platform or the integration itself. Or you can just ask us how we're doing. Ask whatever you want in the Q&A. So that is live. We're keeping track of it. So we have a few questions already. I'll start with the first one. So Omar asked, I guess is asking maybe for some clarification. So is there a 2-hour delay from the account activation in Amelia to them being passed to CampDocs? Is it synced every 2 hours, Dominic?
Good question. And as a debrief for folks in the audience, I know about as much about this integration as my wonderful tech team has provided me ahead of time. So if we can't answer your question on this call, that's okay. We can follow up with you afterwards too, which is super helpful. But for Omar specifically, good question. At present, and this is a brand new integration, so things may change too. We currently have a 4-hour delay from when a registration is complete in Amelia to when that profile arrives in CampDoc. That's just built as a default setting right now. We are looking for early adopters for this integration though. So Omar, if you or someone else in the audience wants to become one of those early adopters, your feedback can definitely influence the direction of where this integration goes. So good question. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks. And we have another question here more on the integration. So from Mark, does a parent have to opt in to share their data from Amelia to CampDoc?
Good question mark. This is one, no, question mark. I didn't even realize that. That was unintentional. Fun. So Mark, unfortunately, I don't have the answer to that question right this very second. If Hayden, our partnerships guru in the audience, is able to jump in there, go for it. If not, Mark, we can follow up with you over email with that response.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great question. I know that in Amelia itself, the first time someone signs up on your store through Amelia, our system asks for their permission to share their information. And so, yeah, I think we'll have to get some clarification on what that means for the integration itself. Thanks, Mark. We have another question from Scott here. So saying, is there a way to have single sign-on with CampDoc or two separate logins?
Great question, Scott. So at present with the integration, which again was just released, I think we had our press release come out like last week, so it's pretty recent. But with version 1 of this integration, it's not a single sign-on. It is indeed a data sync integration. So the integration is going to flow with data from Amelia into CampDoc. Once that data arrives in CampDoc, we'll send out an email invitation for folks to then come into CampDoc, create a login, and go from there. They can use the same email address and password they'd have with Amelia, but it would indeed be a separate login. Good question.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I know with itself, we do have the SSO at the moment. Um, and then another question for Mark, does the registration configuration such as camp/activity title have to be identical in Amelia and CampDoc? I guess so. The way that it works, right? I mean, Dominic, maybe you're the better one, the better person to answer this, but I believe that CampDoc is thinking over the information from Amelia, right?
Correct.
So you would name it once in Amelia, and then whatever it was called in Amelia, it would just show up automatically in CampDoc. So you don't have to create anything additional or duplicate it in CampDoc, right?
Well, and Lisa, that's probably where our client success team wants to get involved because even if it doesn't automatically flow over, we do want to replicate it, right? Because if you're used to
Right.
running reports already based on camp and activity titles in Amelia, we don't want to give you new camp and activity titles within Camp Doc. In fact, our
Right.
what we call group structure, so kind of like foundational hierarchy of the account, our goal is to just replicate what you already have done in Amelia so that we understand the relation between perhaps different branches and sites, school districts, et cetera, that are already built out so we can make sure that reporting in CampDoc is really super simple based on what you're already used to.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And let's see here. So, if a camper withdraws from a camp in Amelia, does it update in CampDoc?
That is an easy yes for you, Mark. So the bright side, that one's a simple one. Good question. And yes, once they withdraw, it will update in CampDoc.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Um, and then another one here. So, what does the setup process look like for camps that want to start using the integration?
Good question. So setup process, I would probably recommend if you are currently an Amelia user, make sure you are also a CampDoc user because that's kind of step number one. I would recommend follow Lisa's advice from earlier. So reach out to your current CSM so we can make that connection between the two teams and make sure we get our technical folks involved so we can start that setup process.
Perfect. And yeah, and if you're not already an Amelia client, then you'd work with our team, and then as you're exploring Amelia, we can also connect you with the CampDoc team as well. So we can kind of walk you through, what the onboarding process would look like for both apps, and we'll make sure that you get that integration set up. So we definitely take you through every step of the process. And so Kelsey's asking, how does CampDoc comply with state licensing with health records, allergy plans, and asthma plans?
Great question, Kelsey. And honestly, we best comply with state licensing by first getting to understand your specific state licensing requirements so we can replicate them within the CampDoc platform. Oftentimes, we hear that we're kind of like an auditor's best friend when you come and do a camp inspection in particular, but every single state is different, right? So as I talk to camps in Colorado, it's a little bit different than those in Washington. Some of you have specific immunization forms you need, or you have allergy action plans to be formatted in a certain way. So what we'll typically do is get a good sense of what your current forms look like, what your requirements are in terms of licensing, and see what we can do with our client success team to build those out strategically and replicate them within the CampDoc platform. We try to digitize as much as humanly possible, but if there are certain forms that need to be, let's say, on state letterhead, we'll follow more of kind of like a scan and upload sort of methodology where folks can simply click a button, download the form, get it signed off, and upload it right back in.
Perfect. Thanks, Dominic.
Good
And we have a
question.
couple folks in the chat too who have been asking about basically if an organization is already using Amelia. Actually, I guess two kinds of questions here. Oh, wait. No, sorry. No, this is the same question. Sorry. So if someone's already using Amelia and then they want to start using CampDoc, I guess people are curious about what the pricing structure looks like for CampDoc.
Yeah, great question, Lisa. So pricing for the camp doc system itself is going to base itself around kind of the size and scope of configuration that we're looking at for your organization. So it's one of those things where I'd recommend get in touch with our team. So Lisa, if you want to go like back one slide, that's going to be sales@campdoc.com. Send an email to us. We can start consulting with you to figure out, hey, what would pricing look like for an organization based on what you're looking to accomplish? And then with that, we can also talk with our teams about, okay, what does it look like for pricing? Let's say if you already use CampDoc and Amelia side by side to just turn on that integration and make sure it's maintained month over month.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, and then we have a last question here. So, Amanda's asking, when does this integration start? And what if we already use both of these systems right now, but separately? Nice.
I mean, I love this question. Thank you for
Yeah.
asking. It can start, well, I guess we have to figure out how long the implementation process is, right? This integration is brand new, freshly built, literally finished like the development and QA process at the end of February. So it's brand new. If you want to become one of our earlier adopters, I recommend reach out to your current CSM with Amelia so we can connect your CSM and Amelia with the CSM that you have over at CampDoc and start that integration process. I'd imagine it should be just a couple weeks to get things up and running, but we'll want to make sure that we work with you directly to understand kind of the scope of programs you want to get involved there and how we best configure them accordingly.
Awesome. Thanks, Dominic. Okay, so that's the end of the questions that I have open here in the Q&A window. Maybe we'll give everyone another minute if there's any, last questions you want to ask us while we're all on the call today. We can give you a second there. I wish I had that Jeopardy sound that I could put on for that moment. Do, 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 do. Okay, so I think people have asked their questions for now, but thank you so much, everyone, for your engagement. It's really great to hear from you and your interest in the integration. We're super excited about this integration, honestly, and I hope this has been valuable for you to learn about Amelia if you're new to Amelia, and also to CampDoc. So, like I said, you can reach back out to us to ask us more questions. So I really hope that it was helpful for you. And if you're already an Amelia client, definitely reach out to your CSM. And after you leave the call today, if you could please fill out that feedback form, we'd be really appreciative. We'd really love to hear about how this was for you. And if you have any like tips or questions for next time, and we'll be happy to get in touch if you have questions as well. So thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate your time today. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you both. Hope you all have a great day. Take care.
Thank
Likewise.
you. Bye.
Bye.